Right, the collar.
Okay, so we're doing the collar now. So we have the upper collar, which is interfaced, and our under collar, which is cut on the bias, which means that it has more give in it. And for that reason, like if we put them together, you can see that the under collar is actually, it's smaller than the upper collar because of the bias. So the first thing we need to do is just fold this back, and we're going to sew a 1 centimetre seam. Now this is the only 1 centimetre seam on the collar or the neckline or the front facing or anything. And the reason it's 1 centimetre here is because it just makes it easier to press open and stay open. So I'm just going to give this a finger press at the moment, and then we're going to sew it onto here. And because it's a bit, you can see that it's smaller on both edges. So to keep track of it, we can actually sew this one with the bias on top because it's going to stretch anyway. Okay, so we start on this corner here, corner of the lapel.
Now it's 6 mil.
At 6 mil, yep. So match up with your center, and you should have a notch here. So use your notch to match the centre back there. Pull this down. So back tack. Sewing this at 6 mil. Make sure you sew the seam open. Now, before we press this, we can just press it. You'll get a cleaner finish though if we actually do an understitch along here. So all that means is that we're going to have the seam allowance going towards the undercollar, and we're going to run the inside of the foot along the folded edge here. Pop this here. So it's an understitch, but it's also a pin stitch because you can see it's very close to the edge there. Okay, and because we've understitched, we don't have to give that a press now. Okay, now we need to, before to sew it into the neckline, we just need to prepare the ends here. And you'll see when I fold this back, if I match up those corners there, fold this down, that seam sits a little bit underneath. So rather than it being right there, and this not matching up, we actually need to match this corner, and so that sits under a little bit.
Sorry, the camera's out of focus. Yep. Just waiting for it to realign itself. Okay, I'll look at your face. Yeah, that's better now.
Oh, here we go. All right. So we folded the piece over. So this is our undercollar. So we folded that on top of the collar here.
Yeah.
And you can see that we've matched this corner, and that seam's actually going to sit under a little bit.
Yeah, as it's designed to.
Yeah. And so what we need to do is we need to find 6 mil in and 6 mil in. We need to find that point there. Now that point, actually if we do it this way, if we put a pin in there, we're actually going to sew down here, and we're going to stop at that point because we need that seam allowance to be open for when it sews into the neckline. So go nice and slow, and when you get there, take the pin out and manipulate, like lift the foot up and move the needle around if you need to, and then do a back tack. So you can see there how I've stopped, and so I've actually left my 6 mil seam allowance loose at that point there. Okay, now we need to do the same with the other corner here, with the other edge. So we'll fold it over, seam goes under, we'll find our point here. You can use your tape measure to find that point if you need to. Once you've got it in place, put it underneath the foot, put the needle down, fold the seam back. Now make sure that when you're doing the back tack here that you don't sew back further than you should.
Yep, you keep it open at that
Okay,
6
so,
mil.
yep, so I just trim that off and you can see there's still a 6 mil there, 6 mil there. Okay, and so what happens then is that when I fold this back and bag that out, that's what our top collar looks like. So you don't actually see the seam because it's tucked under slightly.
And of course we're using black thread just for these tutorials, but you would always use a thread to
Matching
go with
thread.
your fabric.
Yes, we haven't mentioned that before, but always use matching thread. And you can see that that opens up so the seam allowance is loose. All right, so that's our collar prepared for insertion into the neckline.
Great.